Everything was about to fall apart. A millionaire hires the most chaotic assistant in corporate history. She brought disaster. And donuts. What happened next turned the entire corporation upside down. Before we begin, leave a comment and tell us which city you're sharing from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. They say first impressions matter. If that's true, then she absolutely nailed hers, right into the floor. My Italian espresso, that is. I was reviewing quarterly projections in my glass-walled office, enjoying the only 5 peaceful minutes I ever get in a day, when the door slammed open with a bang. Not a knock, a bang. And in tumbled a whirlwind of curls, oversized glasses, and nervous energy, carrying a tray of coffee like it was a live grenade. Mr. Stone, hi. Hi. I'm your new assistant. I mean, executive assistant. I mean, coffee. The tray tilted, time slowed, and I watched my triple-shot espresso do a somersault through the air before landing. Dead center, on a stack of freshly printed contracts. I blinked. She gasped. Oh my God. Oh no. This is not how I wanted to start. I'll fix it, I swear. She was already on her knees, using her scarf to dab at the documents, talking faster than a Wall Street trader during a crash. I was supposed to bring just the black coffee, but then Lisa said you liked almond milk, so I panicked, and then, oh wow, that's ink. That's definitely ink. I stared, frozen, not at the mess, at her. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, in a chaotic sort of way, but because I couldn't remember the last time anyone in this office dared to be this real. She looked up at me with a wide, apologetic gaze, her glasses slightly crooked. I'm so fired, right? I should have fired her. I didn't. Instead, I handed her a tissue and said flatly, you have 2 minutes to explain who hired you. Go. I didn't know her name for the first 3 hours she worked for me. She didn't reintroduce herself, possibly out of fear I'd fire her if she spoke again. But I heard her whispering into the copier room phone to someone named Becca. I think I ruined my life. He's so silent. It's like being judged by a statue in a suit. She wasn't wrong. My name is Grayson Stone, CEO of Stone and Cross Holdings. I don't do warm. I don't do small talk. I built this empire by being cold, calculated, and untouchable. My last assistant lasted 4 months, and she was ex-military. And yet, this new girl had lasted 3 hours. Impressive. Around noon, my email system crashed. No notifications, no meeting alerts, nothing. I stood up, marched to the IT desk, and demanded answers. They blamed a corrupted server update. I suspected sabotage. When I got back, I found her, the girl with the curls, sitting cross-legged on the floor of my office with her laptop open and 5 sticky notes stuck to her forehead like a to-do list gone rogue. I stared. She didn't notice. She was whispering to the computer. Come on, just one more reboot. I believe in you. You are strong. You are worthy of sending emails. Are you talking to the server? She jumped up, cheeks flaming. I was, but only a little. Also, I fixed it. And she had. My inbox pinged with new mail. Calendar back. Meetings synced. All without IT. How did you? I called my cousin. He works for NASA. I blinked. She shrugged. It's not hacking if you ask nicely. That was the first time I nearly smiled. The quarterly strategy session began like most corporate disasters. Too many people, too many opinions, and an air conditioner set to Arctic. I stood at the head of the mahogany table. My executive team watched me like buzzards over a slow-moving gazelle. The project pitch on the screen, our new global rollout strategy, was missing the key slide. The data. Without it, we'd look like amateurs in front of the investors. Where is the Q3 forecast slide? I asked, voice cold. Crickets. Then, I have it. A voice chirped from the back. Her. She stumbled into the room with a USB drive and a Veni iced coffee in each hand. No drinks in the boardroom, muttered Charles from legal. She ignored him, plugged in the USB, and the missing slide popped up like magic. Mr. Stone, I noticed it was missing and emailed IT, but then I remembered I saved a backup to a drive just in case. The numbers were correct. The formatting was perfect. And just like that, the investors' faces softened. Charles mumbled something into his tie. After the meeting, I caught up with her in the hallway. Where did you learn to anticipate problems like that? She shrugged. I used to babysit triplets. Chaos teaches you preparation. Again, almost smiled. I was headed to the printer when I heard muffled sniffles. She was crouched behind the copier, hugging a box of staples like it was life support. "They think I'm stupid," she whispered. "They all do." I hesitated. I should have walked away. Let her cry in peace. But something about her, the way she tried so hard in a place that tried so little, got under my skin. "They think everyone is stupid," I said. "Until someone saves the day." "You saved mine twice today." She sniffed. "I also ruined your contracts and spilled espresso on your keyboard." "And yet," I said, "you're still employed." She smiled weakly. "That's your version of a compliment?" I nodded. Then she stood, wiped her eyes with the sleeve of her blazer, which had 3 mismatched buttons and a coffee stain, and said, "Okay, I'm done crying. Let's go fix the world." And just like that, she walked past me like a storm in ballet flats, chin lifted, eyes bright. I stood in the copy room for a full minute after she left, smiling, just a little. By Thursday, she had rearranged my entire calendar and my entire life. I told her to clear the next day for board prep. I expected 2 hours of breathing room. Instead, she handed me a full color-coded agenda, canceled 5 useless calls, rescheduled a lunch with a vendor I hate, and added a mysterious 11:30 a.m. block titled Mandatory Sunshine. I raised an eyebrow. "You don't like the sun?" she asked. "I don't like surprises." "You're gonna hate 11:30. Turns out, it was a 10-minute walk in the company garden. Just me, her, and a thermos of iced tea she brewed herself. "No phones," she ordered, snatching mine mid-email. I should have been furious. Instead, I found myself breathing. Actually breathing. For the first time in what felt like years. "You look like a man trying to remember how to be human," she teased. "I am. And you're not helping." "Oh, I'm helping," she grinned. "You just don't know it yet." That afternoon, a major contract fell through. The deal with Lexicon Corp, the one we'd been courting for 6 months, collapsed over a last-minute clause. Legal missed it. Finance missed it. I missed it. I lost it. Threw a pen across the room. Shouted something about incompetence. Slammed the conference door so hard the building shook. And she followed me into my office without knocking. "Don't," I warned. She closed the door behind her. "I will." I turned to her, fury still bubbling under my skin. "This isn't your concern." She didn't flinch. "You're wrong." "It is." I exhaled sharply. "You don't get it. Try me." I looked at her. Really looked. Small frame. Big eyes. Determined mouth. And somehow, she was the only one in the building not afraid of me. "Everyone expects me to have all the answers," I muttered. "But sometimes, I don't." Her expression softened. "Then maybe stop pretending you do." That hit hard. We sat in silence for a long moment. The kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled. Then she stood, walked over to the mini fridge, pulled out a root beer, and handed it to me. No more yelling. Root beer and recovery. I almost laughed. Almost. I should have gone home. So should she. Instead, we were sitting in the break room, her feet on the chair, my tie undone, eating greasy pepperoni pizza from a place that didn't even deliver after 8. She convinced them. I don't know how. "I used to think CEOs were robots," she said through a mouthful of crust. "You know, all suits and power and weird dietary restrictions. I used to think assistants were temporary headaches." She smirked. "And now?" I didn't answer. Because I wasn't sure. All I knew was that the air between us had shifted. It wasn't just boss and assistant anymore. Something unspoken hovered in the space between her jokes and my silence. I cleared my throat. "Why did you take this job? You don't seem like the corporate type." She shrugged. "I needed a challenge. And also, student loans." Fair. We stayed like that, eating in comfortable silence, the hum of the vending machine our only background music. At one point, she dozed off, head on her folded arms, mouth slightly open. I didn't wake her. I just watched her sleep. And for a moment, just a moment, I wished things could stay exactly like this. By the next week, I noticed something dangerous. I'd started looking forward to mornings. Not quarterly reports. Not stock projections. Not revenue graphs. Her. The girl with mismatched earrings, ink on her fingers, and a habit of talking to printers like they were sentient beings. She'd become the heartbeat of my schedule, and worse, my distraction. I stepped off the elevator and caught the tail end of a whisper. "She must be sleeping with him. Look at how she struts around, like she owns the place." "She's temporary. Just another pretty face trying to climb. It was coming from HR. They didn't know I was behind them. But she heard. She had paused just outside my office, holding a stack of color-coded folders, her face a perfect mask of pretend you didn't hear that. But I saw the tightness in her jaw. I wanted to fire them all. Instead, I opened my door and said louder than necessary, "You're late. I've been waiting for you." She looked up, surprised. I held the door for her and added, "And for the record, if you're going to strut, own it." Her smile almost made me forget how much I hated people. Our internal system crashed again. Not just a glitch, total chaos. Invoices vanished. Reports scrambled. Client contracts locked up like Fort Knox. The tech team panicked. My COO blamed malware. The head of digital started mumbling about backups that hadn't been tested since the Obama administration. Then she appeared, carrying a flash drive and chewing cinnamon gum like she was about to take down a villain in a spy movie. "Don't panic," she said, breezing past everyone into the server room. "I made backups on my second day. Just in case this exact thing happened." "How did you know?" someone asked. She winked. "Because none of you look like you know what you're doing." 10 minutes later, the system was restored. The files reappeared, and she walked out like a superhero disguised as an over-caffeinated intern. The HR girls weren't done. Now it was louder, meaner. I heard she got promoted without even applying. They say he smiles at her. Maybe she's just using her personality, if you know what I mean. I caught her in the stairwell, pressing her forehead against the cool metal railing like it could drain the exhaustion from her bones. "Are you okay?" I asked. She didn't answer at first. Then she said, "I've been underestimated before, but this feels like drowning in whispers." "I can fix it," I said. "I'll shut them down." "No." She looked up at me. "Don't fight my battles. Just trust me to win them." She organized my desk, but not in any normal way. Each paperclip had a name. Every folder had color-coded sticky tabs. She even left a note on my laptop that said, "Breathe, then open." Inside was a file labeled, "Presentation for Investors," edited for humans. Her version had jokes, simpler charts, a quote from Maya Angelou. I read it twice. Then I texted her from across the hall. "Me. This is actually perfect." Her. "You're welcome, robot man." The power flickered. Then the elevator jolted to a halt between floors. Of course, we were both in it. "Please tell me this thing has backup," she muttered, gripping the railing. "Relax," I said. "We're not going to die." She crossed her arms. "Easy for you to say. You don't have claustrophobia, a lactose intolerance, or a crippling fear of small talk." I stared. Then, "God help me," I laughed. She looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "You laughed," she said, pointing at me. "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did. You chuckled." That was a full-body moment. There was shoulder movement. "I don't chuckle." "You did just now." We stood in silence. Then I said quietly, "You're different." She tilted her head. "Different good or different bad?" "I haven't decided yet." She smiled. "Better hurry. I'm not going to stay this adorable forever." That night, the power came back. The elevator restarted. But something in me had already shifted. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't want to shift it back. If you had told me 6 weeks ago that I'd voluntarily spend time in an elevator with anyone, I'd have laughed. Well, grunted disapprovingly. But after what happened last night, I found myself lingering near the elevator bank a little longer each morning. Hoping, waiting, wishing I could hit pause on a world that suddenly moved too fast without her around. She stepped in at exactly 9:05. Oversized tote bag, coffee in one hand, Bluetooth headset in the other. She looked up, smiled. "You again." "You're late," I said. She rolled her eyes. "You say that every time I'm 1 minute past 9. Do you set your watch just to catch me?" "No," I said. "But now that you've suggested it," she laughed. "God, you're weird." And for some strange reason, I liked that she thought so. We were prepping for a quarterly earnings call. I was pacing. She was typing. Our rhythm, once rocky, had become symphonic. She anticipated everything before I asked for it. Coffee, reports, slides, even sarcasm. "Do you always stress this much before a call?" she asked. "No," I said. She raised an eyebrow. I sighed. "Fine. Yes. These calls are public autopsies. They peel you open in front of shareholders." She nodded thoughtfully. "So don't let them find a pulse. Be so cold they can't read you." That stopped me. That's surprisingly dark. She shrugged. I'm not always sunshine and staplers, you know. And then, she said something I wasn't expecting. My dad used to say that. Before court hearings. Be colder than them, or they'll cut you open. I froze. You've never mentioned your dad before. Her face shifted. Guarded now. He was a defense attorney. Brilliant. Strategic. Also emotionally unavailable. So, kind of like you, if you had a law degree and 3 divorces. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. But I watched her for the rest of the day, more closely than ever. A surprise audit from compliance hit the building like a rogue hurricane. Emails flew. Phones rang. Department heads panicked. And in the middle of it all, she was calm. While everyone else flailed, she grabbed the disaster binder from the bottom drawer of my filing cabinet. I didn't even know we had a disaster binder. She did. Color-coded, she said, handing me a green-tabbed report. And before you ask, yes, I did a dry run of this last Tuesday. I sensed the chaos coming. How? I grew up in chaos. You learn to hear it before it gets loud. She said it so quietly, so matter-of-fact, like pain was just another setting in her personality. I wanted to ask more, but the firestorm didn't give me time. We were the last 2 in the office. Again, the building was silent. My tie hung loose. Her hair was down. And for once, we weren't boss and assistant. We were just 2 tired people at the end of a long day. We stepped into the elevator. Just the 2 of us. Again. Only this time, she hit the stop button. I blinked. Do you know what's wrong with you? She asked. Is this a long list or? You never let anyone see you. Not really. I see everything, I said, annoyed. No, she said, stepping closer. You observe, but you don't share. There's a difference. I looked at her, really looked, and said the one thing I hadn't said to anyone in years. I used to have a fiancé. She blinked. She left, I added. Said I was married to ambition. Said she couldn't compete with a spreadsheet. There was a long pause. Then she whispered, I was engaged once too. My heart stilled. He called it off 2 weeks before the wedding. Said he needed someone, more polished. I wanted to punch something. Instead, I said, he's an idiot. She smiled. And you're not as cold as you pretend to be. Don't tell anyone, I said. Too late, she whispered. We stood there in the elevator, suspended between floors and expectations, 2 broken people held together by secrets and sarcasm. And for the first time in my adult life, I didn't feel alone. There are only 2 things I hate more than galas. 1, small talk. 2, wearing tuxedos in rooms full of liars. But this annual corporate fundraiser, was unavoidable. Press, investors, VIPs, and unfortunately mandatory. I planned to arrive late, nod at a few old money vultures, donate a check large enough to look generous, then vanish. What I didn't plan for was her. I was adjusting my cufflinks near the bar when I heard the collective silence. And then I saw her, descending the grand staircase like a slow-motion storm. Hair swept up, a black dress that looked like it belonged in a Paris runway window, and that same nervous sparkle in her eyes that somehow made her even more dangerous. People whispered. I stood still. She didn't notice me at first. She was too busy looking terrified, like a girl who borrowed confidence along with her heels. But then her eyes found mine, and she smiled. God help me, I forgot how to breathe. We made it through 2 polite conversations and 1 horrible shrimp appetizer before the string quartet started up. A familiar board member, Anderson, a smug older man with teeth too white, approached her. Would you like to dance, miss? Before she could answer, I stepped in. She's already taken. I don't know why I said it. Correction, I do. Because the thought of her dancing with anyone else suddenly made my blood boil. She raised an eyebrow. Taken? Temporarily, I clarified, offering my hand. For 1 dance. Possibly 2. Maybe the whole night. She laughed, but she took my hand. And when I pulled her onto the dance floor, the world shrank to nothing but the sound of her laughter and the rhythm of a slow waltz. You don't strike me as the dancing type, she whispered. I'm not, I said, but I'm full of surprises. You sure are, she said, barely looking at me. Then, just when I thought she might pull away, she leaned her head softly against my chest. And we danced, in full view of everyone. After our second dance, we snuck out to the terrace. I poured us 2 glasses of champagne. She sipped hers quietly, staring out at the city lights like she was trying to memorize the skyline. You look like a Disney villain back there, she said. I am a Disney villain, I replied. She chuckled. You're not so bad. No, you're kind of almost tolerable. Careful, I warned. Flattery might get you promoted. She turned serious. You've changed. I stiffened. Meaning, when I first met you, you were ice in a suit. Now you're a person. Terrifying. Endearing. I looked at her. She looked back. And for the first time in my life, I didn't care who saw. I wanted to kiss her. I leaned in, slowly, testing fate. She didn't move. She didn't blink. And then, a voice behind us. Mr. Stone, we need you inside. The press wants a photo. The moment shattered like glass. She stepped back. I cleared my throat. And just like that, the spell was broken. By Monday morning, the entire office was buzzing. CEO caught dancing with assistant. Romance rumors spark scandal. Did she seduce him at the gala? I tried to shield her. Send out a no-gossip memo. Talk to HR. Killed the story. But it wasn't enough. By Tuesday, someone left an anonymous note on her desk. Must be nice getting promotions on your back. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She packed her things during lunch. And by the time I returned from my meeting, her desk was empty. No note. No goodbye. Nothing. I stood in the middle of the space she once lit up, and for the first time in a long time, I felt lonely. Not busy. Not tired. Not numb. Just heartbreakingly, unmistakably alone. After she left, the office felt wrong. Too quiet. Too sterile. Like someone had vacuumed the soul out of the building. The coffee machine still worked. The reports still printed. Meetings were scheduled on time. But nothing felt right. Because she wasn't here. HR sent a replacement. Her name was Claire. Punctual. Polished. Efficient. She brought me coffee in a ceramic mug and smiled like a robot in heels. Everything she did was perfect. I hated it. She didn't ask if I'd eaten. Didn't snort laugh at my sarcasm. Didn't leave motivational sticky notes on my desk with terrible doodles of unicorns holding spreadsheets. I sent her back to HR after 3 days. I didn't even offer an explanation. I didn't talk much that week. My board noticed. My team noticed. The janitor noticed. You okay, Mr. Stone? He asked once, as I stood staring at the copier for 5 full minutes. I didn't answer. What would I say? No, I'm not okay. The only person who ever made this office feel like home walked out, and I didn't stop her. Because I didn't. I let the whispers, the rumors, and my own pride chase her away. An anonymous report hit the board. Allegations of inappropriate conduct between CEO and staff. Accusations of favoritism implied misuse of company resources. None of it was true, but it didn't matter. The story leaked. Social media exploded. Hashtag Stone Scandal started trending. Overnight, I became the headline I never wanted to be. The board called an emergency session. Lawyers got involved. PR teams scrambled. And still, I said nothing. Because the only person who could clear my name wasn't here. And worse, she probably thought I let it happen. I couldn't stop thinking about the look on her face the last time I saw her. She hadn't cried. She hadn't pleaded. She had just walked away. And I let her. I sat at my desk, staring at the gala photo that had gone viral. Me in a tuxedo, her in that black dress, eyes bright with hope. I zoomed in until all I could see was her smile. I hadn't seen it since. And that killed me. I walked into the boardroom like a man headed to his own execution. Flashbulbs popped. Journalists shouted. Inside, the air was thick with accusation. We need a scapegoat, someone muttered. He crossed a line. Even if nothing happened, the perception. I raised a hand. I'll step down. Gasps. Silence. Ethan, my CFO and oldest friend, stood up. Grayson, no. I built this company, I said. But if my presence is hurting it, I'll leave. And for the first time in my career, I meant it. Because without her here, none of it mattered. I found a sticky note in the back of my drawer. Faded. Torn. In her handwriting. Don't forget to be human today. Also breathe. I held it like it was made of glass. And then I knew exactly what I had to do. I always thought if I ever left Stone and Cross, it would be with fanfare. Headlines. Legacy speeches. A polished video tribute scored with a dramatic string quartet. Instead, I walked out with a cardboard box and a folded suit jacket. No cameras. No goodbyes. Just silence and concrete. The board accepted my resignation in record time. Some looked guilty. Most looked relieved. Ethan didn't say a word. Just stared at me with quiet disappointment, like he couldn't decide whether to punch me or hug me. You're really doing this? He finally asked. I already did. What are you going to do now? I looked at him. I'm going to fix the only thing that actually matters. As I reached the lobby, The doors opened to a wall of flashing cameras. Someone had leaked the board's decision. Reporters shouted my name. Mr. Stone, is it true you were having an affair with your assistant? Did you resign because of guilt or pressure? Are you stepping down to avoid legal fallout? I stopped, raised a hand, and for the first time, I told the truth. I'm stepping down because this company has forgotten what it means to be decent. The press froze. I never had an affair, but I did fall for someone. A woman who challenged me, changed me, made me better, and we let a culture of gossip and cruelty drive her away. The reporters looked stunned. I wasn't finished. If you're looking for a scandal, write that down. We lost the best thing that ever walked into this building because we were too afraid to stand up for what's right. I turned and walked into the sunlight. For once, I wasn't running from a mess. I was running towards something real. It took 4 phone calls, 1 bribed receptionist, and a delivery guy with a crush, but I found her. She was working a freelance gig, temp assistant at a nonprofit startup on the other side of town. Different office. Same messy desk. I stood in the doorway as she typed furiously, headphones in. She hadn't seen me yet. God, I missed her. That ridiculous ponytail. Those mismatched shoes. The chaos and kindness she wore like armor. I knocked softly. She looked up and froze. What are you? How did you even? I resigned. She blinked. What? I resigned. I left Stone and Cross. Why? Because it wasn't worth anything without you in it. She stared at me, then laughed. One of those painful, disbelieving laughs that makes your chest ache. You can't just show up here like some rom-com CEO with a redemption arc. I know. And you can't just say you gave up your whole empire for me. I didn't give it up for you, I said. I gave it up because without you, I became someone I never wanted to be again. Her eyes softened. And who do you want to be now? I stepped closer. The guy who makes you laugh during meetings. The one who walks you home in the rain. The guy who never lets you leave a room thinking you're not seen or heard or loved. Silence. Then she whispered, I brought your favorite coffee this morning. I blinked. What? I left it at the front desk. In case you showed up. And suddenly, my entire world realigned. I thought once I found her, once I said the right words, things would fall back into place. But love doesn't follow schedules. And she doesn't follow scripts. I texted her that morning. Meet coffee today? I owe you everything. And maybe a cinnamon bun. No reply. I called. Twice. Straight to voicemail. By noon, my stomach had twisted itself into origami. I called Ethan. She's gone, I said. Gone where? She quit the temp job, packed her desk. A courier arrived at my door with a plain white envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. Grayson, you don't need to fix me. And I can't fix you. What we had was magic. But I don't belong in your world. Not really. I need space to remember who I am, without boardrooms, without headlines, and without you. Please don't follow me. Hey, I read it 3 times. Then I did what any arrogant, emotionally compromised man in love would do. I followed her. She was standing in line at gate 27, hair in a messy braid, backpack slung over one shoulder, flight ticket in her hand. I should have been quiet, strategic, suave. Instead, I walked up in a wrinkled button-down and blurted, Don't get on that plane. She turned, eyes wide. Grayson, what the hell? You said not to follow you. Yes, and you ignored it. I'm not great with instructions. You of all people should know that. She tried to stay angry, but she didn't move, didn't board, didn't walk away, just stood there, eyes glassy, breathing like she was trying not to cry in public. Why are you here? She asked softly. Because I can't lose you twice. I took a deep breath. Passengers stared. Flight attendants paused. I built a company from scratch. I've closed deals worth hundreds of millions. I've stood in front of boards, billionaires, and broadcast cameras. And I've never been more terrified than I am right now, watching you walk away. She swallowed hard. I was cold, guarded, lonely. And then you, this chaotic, brilliant, infuriating woman, walked into my office and lit the place on fire. You made me feel things I forgot how to feel. I stepped closer. And I don't want a world where your name isn't the first thing on my calendar. Tears filled her eyes. And for a moment, neither of us spoke. I pulled out a folded airline ticket from my pocket. Wherever you're going, I said. I bought the seat next to you. She laughed through her tears. Grayson Stone, you're ridiculous. I've been called worse. And what if I was flying to Antarctica? Hope you packed a scarf. She looked at me, long and hard, then whispered, "You really mean it?" "With everything I have." They called her Ro. She looked at the gate, then at me, then back at the gate. And finally, she said, "Let's miss this flight." 2 weeks later, the office didn't look the same. Mostly because it wasn't my office anymore. And honestly, I liked it better that way. The brass nameplate on the frosted glass door now read, A. Carter, Director of Strategic Development. I still remember the board's reaction when I recommended her. "She's unorthodox. She's young. She spilled coffee on your contracts, didn't she?" "Yes. And she saved our biggest deal. Navigated a PR crisis. Rebuilt an internal system from scratch. And taught me how to be a human being again." So yes, she was young and unorthodox. But she was also brilliant. They voted unanimously. Even Charles from legal. I knocked. She looked up from behind a massive oak desk, now cluttered with folders, sticky notes, and a coffee mug that read, "Chaos Coordinator." "You're late," she said, smirking. "I brought donuts." "You're forgiven." She stood up, crossed the room, and plucked the bag from my hands. I leaned against the wall, watching her unwrap a glazed twist like it was the key to world peace. "You still leave your documents all over the printer tray," she said. "I do." "And you're still terrible at filing." "Confirmed." She smiled. "Good. I like consistency." At lunch, we sat on the rooftop terrace. Her idea. Eating sandwiches on folding chairs and pretending not to notice the wind trying to steal our napkins. She reached into her bag and handed me a folded sheet of paper. "What's this?" "Company policy." I unfolded it. "Office rules. By A. Carter 1. All meetings must include snacks. 2. Crying in the copy room is allowed but optional. 3. No yelling, unless you're yelling about bad coffee. 4. Daily breathing breaks encouraged. 5. Sarcasm is a language. Learn it. 6. Anyone who gossips gets dish duty. 7. Wear your weirdness loudly. 8. Fall in love if you want. Just don't mess up the quarterly reports." I looked up, laughing. "You wrote a love clause into the handbook?" I figured it was safer to legalize it. I raised an eyebrow. "What if I mess up the quarterly report? Then I demote you to intern." "Harsh." "Fair." She leaned her head on my shoulder. And for a long moment, we just sat there, two people who found each other in the unlikeliest place. A broken office, in the middle of a broken system, with a lot of broken coffee machines. But we weren't broken anymore. Months later, I found one last note on the back of my old desk drawer. "If you ever forget who you are, find the person who made you laugh when you didn't even remember how." Hey, I never forgot again. Because I married her. And now she writes the rules.